We're going to make a seam sample just to help us practice some of our sewing skills that we're going to use in projects later on. So I'm going to start with a piece of fabric from the scrap bin, and I need a ruler with centimeters on it because for this project we need 2 pieces that are 10 by 10 centimeters. I'm going to use some fabric chalk and just mark it at the 10 centimeter mark it another 10 centimeter. Once I have my first square, then I can go ahead and use that as my template for my second one. Use a nice sharp pair of scissors, and for your cutting, pay attention to your strokes. You want to do nice long cuts rather than short jagged ones. Now I'm going to use my piece as a template, and I can just cut around this, or if I want to be even more precise, I can trace it again with my chalk. Now I've got the right side of my fabric and the wrong side. The right side is the side you want to see, and so we need to put these ones together facing each other. We always sew backwards, and this is what gives us those nice clean lines and seams. We're going to be sewing essentially a U shape on this, and that's how we make a little pocket. The proper way to pin is to pin horizontally, not vertically. You're going to stick it first through both layers and bring it up through both layers so it lays flat. What I don't want to see is pins that are done vertically. This just makes it harder to pull out when you're sewing. The other thing I always see is kids that put it through the layer but don't do anything else, and it's just a pokey hazard. So always make sure you go through both layers and back up so it lays nice and flat. The pins are just to help you keep the fabric in line as you're sewing so it doesn't get pulled around or come away from where you want it to be. Pay attention to this line on the needle plate. This is the 5/8 line. You can see the little fraction there on the line. This means our fabric is going to butt up against it, and we're going to follow that as our guide so that we sew a nice straight line. As I put my presser foot down, I can get rid of my first pin. My presser foot is holding it in place. I'm going to use 0 here, which as you can see is the straight stitch. So we have it lined up. Now all there is left to do is start. We're going to go forward, adjust a few stitches, and then back stitch. Hold down the back stitch button to go back a few stitches, then release it to go forwards again. You can control your speed here. Go as fast as you're comfortable, but go for accuracy over speed. Stop well before your pins so you can remove them. You don't want to sew over pins because you could break your sewing needle. When we get to corners, we want to put our needle down. So you can see right now mine is up. I'm going to use my needle up down button to put it down. This allows me to raise my presser foot and pivot my fabric so that I can get a really clean, nice looking corner. I'm going to go a little too far on the next one just to show you what you can do to correct that. So my needle's down, which is good. I'm going to lift my presser foot, but look, I'm really far from the 5/8 line. So I'm just going to pivot back, lower my presser foot, and use my reverse stitch button to back it up a little bit. My needle's down again, so I pivot, and now I'm right on the 5/8 line, which is perfect. This is my last line of stitching, so I'm going to get ready to backstitch at the very end. We don't need to backstitch on corners because the thread hasn't ended. So just when we start and when we stop, or if at any point your needle breaks or runs out and you have to go back. When you are taking a project out of the machine, you want to make sure your take-up lever is up. You can use your hand wheel for that or the up-down needle button. You can cut your strings with scissors, or you can use this awesome little cutter on the left side of your machine. Always keep your strings nicely trimmed so that they're not getting in your way and your project looks clean and tidy. Now I've used white thread on this, so it's hard to see, but you can see I've got a U-shaped pattern here. Now we're going to switch to a seam finish. So we're going to change this to a 7, which is our zigzag, and we're going to line up the edge of the presser foot with the edge of our fabric instead of the 5/8 line, but everything else is the same. So we're going to do a little back stitch here when we start. And then we're going to go forwards all the way to the corner, where we're going to do corners the same way. Needle down, pivot, This one wasn't far enough, so we're gonna go just a little further, and I'm gonna manually do that with my hand wheel so I don't go too far. And carry on the last 2 ways. As I near the end of this line of stitching, I'm just gonna get ready to backstitch again. Same thing, 3 to 4 stitches before I release it. Here's our finished seam sample with the seam finish on the outside, and I also cut the corners to remove bulk.